From the south side of Chicago to the seat of St. Peter, Pope Leo XIV has taken a path few could have predicted. His life blends missionary grit with global vision. Every chapter adds a new twist. These are 10 facts that reveal the Pope you didn't see coming. When Robert Francis Prevost stepped onto the balcony as Pope Leo XIV, history shifted. For the first time, the successor to St. Peter hailed from the United States, a nation once considered too young, too secular, or too distant from Rome's deep traditions. Yet that wasn't the only first. He also became the first pontiff from the Order of St. Augustine, a community rooted in shared life, deep introspection, and pastoral humility. These foundations bring a quiet force to his leadership, one shaped by urban grit, global perspective, and a spirituality grounded in presence over power. Although his new title is historic, it fits naturally within the story of a man who has always stood at the intersection of tradition and transformation. That same story becomes even more striking when you look at how quickly the cardinals reached agreement. Conclaves often bring suspense, but the 2025 election moved faster than most expected. Though many anticipated a prolonged vote following Pope Francis's death, the cardinals reached agreement by the fourth ballot, choosing Cardinal Robert Prevost with over 75% of the vote. It was one of the smoothest transitions in recent history. That clarity didn't come out of nowhere. Pope Francis had shaped nearly 80% of the College of Cardinals by the time of his death. Many saw Prevost as someone who could continue his vision without replicating his style. With deep missionary roots, Vatican experience, and a calm, unifying presence, Leo XIV was the kind of leader who didn't need to campaign. His life already made the case for him. Robert Francis Prevost was born in 1955 and raised on Chicago's South Side, a place defined by its blue-collar grit, ethnic diversity, and a distinctly American expression of Catholic life. Unlike the church-centered villages of Europe, this was urban Catholicism in motion, shaped by constant negotiation between cultures. Irish, Polish, Italian, and later Mexican and Puerto Rican families lived side by side, balancing factory work by day with parish life by night. Prevost's early formation took place in that urban context, where Catholic parishes served not only as places of worship, but also as neighborhood anchors. He served as an altar boy, attended Catholic schools, and saw firsthand how the church operated amid economic hardship, racial tension, and community organizing. These early experiences gave him a practical, often street view level of pastoral work, something that would later shape how he approached leadership far beyond Chicago. Coming from the working-class South Side, Prevost didn't take the usual path to high office. Before he was made a bishop, or even considered for one, he was elected Prior General of the Augustinians, one of the church's oldest, most widespread religious orders. Based in Rome, he led thousands of friars across dozens of countries, steering the order through a time of global transition. His leadership, which lasted 12 years, beginning in 2001, came at a moment when many religious communities were aging, shrinking, or questioning their future. Rather than manage from a distance, Prevost spent those years on the road, encouraging vocations in places where growth was still possible. Under his leadership, the order began renewing formation programs, strengthening ties with lay collaborators, or addressing the social shifts affecting modern religious life. Despite the global scope of his role, he remained approachable, often referred to simply as Father Bob, even in formal settings. That blend of administrative clarity and pastoral familiarity would quietly set him apart from the career path typically expected of future cardinals. The name didn't come from Rome. It came from the remote villages of northern Peru. Long before he became a bishop or cardinal, Robert Prevost was simply Father Bob to the people he served. The nickname reflected how he worked: approachable, consistent, and deeply present in the lives of others. That familiarity didn't fade with promotion. Even while leading the Augustinians globally or working within the Vatican, the people closest to him continued to use it, not out of informality, but out of trust. Now, as Pope Leo XIV, the question arises: what name will define his papacy? Pope Benedict XVI became known as the Green Pope for his focus on ecology. Pope Francis earned the title the People's Pope through his deep connection with the poor. In northern Peru, Leo XIV came to be known as the Saint of the North. If his pastoral instincts continue to guide his leadership, then Father Bob may not just remain a fond memory. It could become the defining image of his papacy. His mission in Peru began in the 1980s, in the rural region of Chulucanas, a place with limited infrastructure, few priests, and a strong sense of local identity. Robert Prevost embraced the assignment with energy as well as respect. He learned the language, absorbed the culture, and traveled long distances on foot to reach communities tucked deep in the hills. He offered Mass under palm-thatched roofs, carried supplies to those in need, and became a trusted mediator during moments of tension. Rather than treating the work as transitional, he saw it as central to his vocation. The experience shaped his understanding of ministry, showing him that the Church could lead more effectively by living alongside the people rather than above them. Over time, his bond with the region only grew stronger. He maintained contact with the communities he once served, returning for visits, and eventually becoming bishop of the very diocese where his pastoral journey began. That continuity reflected something deeper, a loyalty not tied to rank, but to relationship. Pope Leo XIV's loyalty to the Chicago White Sox has never wavered, despite decades of missionary work and church leadership. In fact, his longtime support for one of baseball's most heartbreakingly inconsistent teams says a lot about his patience, grit, and his quiet optimism. He's been known to wear Sox caps during informal events, especially while spending time with youth groups or visiting familiar communities. For someone now surrounded by centuries of tradition, the image of him in team gear feels disarming, in the best way. That down-to-earth fandom doesn't clash with his role, it complements it, just like another habit he's carried for decades: picking up a tennis racket and hitting the court when time allows. Tennis became part of his rhythm early on and stayed with him throughout his ministry. While serving in different countries, he often carried a racket and organized games as a way to connect beyond formal settings. For Prevost, the sport offered a chance to reflect, build focus, and engage with others in a relaxed environment. Lessons from the court, timing, humility, persistence, quietly informed the way he approached leadership, whether among peers or parishioners. Those same qualities also appeared in the way he communicated. Pope Leo XIV is fluent in English, Spanish, Italian, and French, with additional knowledge of Latin and Portuguese. However, it's not the number of languages that stands out, it's how he uses them. Rather than rely on interpreters, he speaks directly, even in the most remote communities. His ability to shift between languages builds trust, reduces formality, and strengthens bonds. In places where misunderstandings often slow progress, his communication becomes a tool for clarity as well as compassion. That instinct carried into his first moments as Pope. At his inaugural Mass, he began his homily in English, a rare move for the Vatican and a deliberate signal that his message would not be confined by geography or tradition. Though born in Chicago, Leo XIV eventually became a Peruvian citizen, a decision that reflected more than time spent abroad. By then, he had lived decades in the country's northern valleys, walking to villages few bishops had ever visited, learning not only Spanish, but local dialects, and earning a place in the lives of people who came to see him as their own. He would later become bishop of that same region, not as a career move, but as a continuation of the life he had already built. For a man now leading a global church, it speaks volumes that the people of Chulucanas still claim him first, not as Pope, but as one of them.